Hey there, Bruce, and welcome back to Remember 11, Age of Infinity. We kind of cut our questioning off in the middle there because we were out of time for the episode, so let's just carry on from where we left off, shall we? Continuing on, my second question about Kokoro. Did Kokoro really read this newspaper article? If so, then how did she feel about it? Of course, it wasn't just Kokoro. Yomogi and Lin read it as well. If someone would find a newspaper from the future in which their own death was described, what would they think? How would they feel? I tried thinking, what if it were me? A newspaper from the future? Of unknown nature? And that paper was an article describing my death? If it were me and I read that, what would I think? Good question. I mean, if it looked legit, of course I'd believe it. But I'm a very gullible sort of an idiot. I'd most likely believe what the article said. Even if it did have a future date written on it, I don't think I'd be able to laugh it off so carelessly. If you ask me why, it's because the words "the three bodies" are those of the survivors of the crash are written there. And among the names of those three people were my own, as well as those of two others from the shelter cabin. And on top of that, even Yuni's name appeared there. So they have to have known about the plane crash really before it happened, right? If they're faking it. This meant that they were correct in saying that those four specific people survived the plane crash, and therefore there were only two possible explanations. Either the newspaper was from the future, or was from the past but written by someone with abnormal ability of foresight. But no matter which was true, it didn't change the fact that the first half of the article was dead on. In that case, it was only human nature to believe that the rest of the article would come true as well. It looks like I'm going to die on January 17th. If it was me, that's what I'd think. So Yomogi, Lin and Kokoro are probably thinking that as well. On the surface, they're doing their best to appear calm, but in their hearts, I'm sure they're all beset by an excruciating uneasiness. On top of that, they were stuck inside the shelter cabin, trapped by a snowstorm. They had nowhere to run. Despair. In a way, I had nowhere to run either. After all, I might find out that I died when the time of the next transfer came. I understood their feelings so well it hurt, especially Lin's. Suddenly feeling worried, I turned to face her. Lin was crouched down in the corner of the bed, sitting on the floor. That fiery spirit she'd shown until now had vanished completely. My feet unconsciously steered me in her direction. I slowly drew near and then took a seat on the bed next to Lin. You want something? She spoke softly without even raising her head. No, it's just... Sorry, I'm not really in the mood to talk to anyone right now. Could you leave me alone? Yeah, whatever. Fuck you, lady. No offense, but fuck you. I see. Sorry for bothering you. Whispering that to her, I got up and left. No matter what I said to her right now, it'd probably be useless. I could tell that she wasn't exactly of sound mind at the moment. At times like these, there's nothing I can do but leave her alone. Even as I thought that, it continued to bother me. When I reached the window, I turned around again. Perhaps she felt my eye on her, but she looked up, her eyes met mine, and... What do you want, damn it? She sighed, a gloomy pallor over her face. She got up and walked past me. The hole in the floor near the doorway. She disappeared through it, as if trying to avoid me. Yomogi and Yuni appeared, as though changing places with Lin. The two of them climbed up the ladder, one after the other. Did something happen? They say while looking at my complexion. No, it's nothing. Feigning complacency, I got up from the bed. The newspaper was lying in a corner of the room. I went over and picked it up. I sat on the log chair near the table. I spread out the patched up newspaper and scanned the article. I've only read part of this newspaper. There could be other important information hidden somewhere in the rest of the articles. I was worried about Lin, of course, but I couldn't concentrate all my efforts on her. The transfers started everything. There could be a clue in this paper somewhere that might shed light on them. Resolved, I proceeded to read the articles, and then... Captain Yomogi, come here quickly, I've discovered a hidden treasure. What? Hidden treasure, you say? Let's have a look. I heard Yuni and Yomogi's voices behind the paper. Oh, this is quite splendid. A magnificently coloured treasure indeed. However, these blue and white stripes are quite unexpected. Halt, Private Yuni. Touching is prohibited. It may be booby-trapped. Booby-trapped, you say? Yes, that's correct. Closing on you with a great snap, you see. A snap. It's a very real possibility. But Captain, such a chance as this may not appear before us ever again. Even if it is a trap, I'll sacrifice myself. You fool, what are you saying? I can't let my precious private first class face such danger. As the captain, I'll take full responsibility. No, the death of the captain means the death of the entire squadron. I have no wife or children and nobody to cry over me. Silence. to say such a thing. You bastard, do you intend to keep the treasure all for yourself? What are you saying, Captain? I never so much as crossed my mind to do such a... What the heck are you guys doing back there? That way of speaking. Could you perchance be Yukido-kun? Oh, okay, we're about to do a switch then. It seems they finally noticed. It's too much of a pain to answer, so I got straight down to business. So what are you guys doing, squatting over there like that? Looking up your skirt. Well, that is... Yuni and Yomogi stared at each other, and then returned their gaze to me. What their eyes returned was the place where my... No, it was the place where Kokoro's thighs converged. I instantly understood what they were doing, and what their conversation had been about. I can only sigh. You two sure are laid back. I feel like I might get caught up in the same feeling just by looking at you guys. Even though I might die as soon as the next transfer happens. And even if I did manage to survive that, faced with a mountain of urgent problems that were sure to kill me afterward. Well, it's true that, compared to over there, the world here is a lot more peaceful. I always have to be on my toes over there. I don't know who I can trust. Looking at it that way, I feel a lot more laid back when I'm here. I took off the wristwatch as I complained. As it became my habit, I put it in my pocket. What do you mean by there and here? No, it's nothing. Please continue. Saying that, I held up the newspaper once again. Even if you tell us to continue. Yeah. After all, for the time being, you're a girl, Satoru. Wouldn't it be better if you closed your legs? I don't really mind. It's no big deal if someone sees it. And besides, even if I do close them, they'll just go back to how they were before as soon as I let my guard down. It's been a habit for so long you can't really expect me to change it. But if Kokoro asks, please tell her I was really careful. Saying that from behind the newspaper, I heard Yuni and Yomogi begin to confer in frantic whispers. I don't really know what they're talking about, but, well, whatever. I forget about them and focused on the newspaper instead. There was an article about Flight 18 on the local news page, but there wasn't any new information in it. It's the same no matter how many times I read it. It's not like the text of the article will change. After the snow thawed, the decomposed corpses of 3 men and women were found on the mountain. Their names were Yomogi Seiji, Fuyukawa Kokoro, and Mayuzumi Lin. They'd lost their lives at 6:53 AM on January 17th after getting caught up in an avalanche. Conversely, you could say that they were able to survive until that time, and Yuni's name was written there, in the paper as well. The sole survivor, Kusuda Yuni, 11. Even now, half a year after the accident, Unikin's mental state is yet to stabilise, and he is steadfast in his refusal to speak. The Aomori Prefectural Police are still waiting for Yuni's condition to improve in order to obtain more detailed information about the events that occurred. Ah, that's right. I'd forgotten something important. About Yuni. The Yuni in the shelter cabin right now wasn't the Yuni of 2011. Even if he was in body, the consciousness dwelling inside that body belonged to Yuni of 2012. If not, then how could the words of Yuni at SPHIA be explained? The Yuni at SPHIA said he didn't know anything about Mount Akukura. He was definitely involved in a plane crash, but when he came to afterward, he was suddenly at SPHIA. That's what he said. This Yuni and that Yuni had, if only once, changed places with each other like me and Kokoro. I'll go ask the Yuni here about it then. There it is. I was waiting for that to happen. Make sure of it. Right as I thought that, the scenery shifted. A hot pain in my left arm. I reflexively jumped back and stood, ready. That silhouette clutching a knife. It might still be nearby, but there was no one there. I restlessly looked around, bobbing my head like a chicken, but there was no trace of anyone else in the room. This is my room at SPHIA. Just to be safe, I checked the closet, under the bed, and even in the bathroom. Not so much as a shadow to be found. I patted down my body, but found no other wounds except for the one on my left arm. Whew, I muttered as I wiped the sweat from my brow. Somehow it looks like Kokoro managed to get away. A feeling of relief blanketed me. Was it only tension that kept me standing? Fatigue suddenly surged through me. I sat down on the floor, drained of energy. I couldn't take so much as a single step. My body was as heavy as stone. I was somehow able to remove my right arm far enough to take out my wristwatch. Present time, 8:08 PM. Since it had taken me time to make sure that the room was safe, I estimated the transfer had taken place at about 8:06 PM. I put my wristwatch back in my pocket, and then let my head hang. I gently rubbed my throbbing left arm with the palm of my right. It felt odd to the touch. Something appears to be wrapped around my arm. I felt a strong pressure on the wound too. I stood back up, my rusty joints creaking and groaning as I did. I walked over to the door and locked it just in case. And then returning to the center of the room, I took off my clothes. I looked at my left arm. Bandages. White bandages were wrapped around it. Part of the cloth was discolored by a thick line of red blood that still oozed from beneath its surface. Tracing that line with a fingertip, I felt it numb and tingling. Did Kokoro dress it herself? I doubted she could bandage it so neatly using her right arm. It isn't even her dominant arm after all, so then one of the other three. As I pondered the question, I tried to put my clothes back on. I decided to, sorry. Gritting my teeth against the pain, I passed my arm through the sleeve. Now then. And before I had time to catch my breath, emotions began to swell within me. An exulting feeling bubbling up from within me. Those were the emotions I felt toward Kokoro. Even if I thanked her 1,000 times or 10,000 or 1,000,000, it wouldn't come close to expressing the depth of my gratitude to her, because Kokoro was the one who let me escape from the demonic hands of the killer. There was nothing I could do. Even though it was my body, there was nothing I could do to help. Kokoro had saved my life. A deep emotion that couldn't be expressed with mere words expanded within me, until it felt that it would burst forth from my heart. I wanted to hug her and hug her and hug her, muss her hair and shout in her ears, "Thank you, Kokoro, I'm so grateful I could sing." But that was an unfillable wish. Unfulfillable. Well, at the very least, I could write it all down, I thought. True. I sat at the desk at once and picked up the pen. Huh? When I turned my eyes toward the memo pad, I noticed it. Letters I don't remember writing had been scribbled there. Nice to meet you, Yukido-san. I felt dizzy just reading the first line. The letters showed pretty low handwriting skills, like the scribbles of a foreigner trying to learn Japanese by imitating others. But then I remembered, that's right, Kokoro is left-handed. And the injury is to her left arm, so I see, so she can't have it right like this. It's inexcusable to complain about the poor handwriting and whatnot of someone who just saved your life. Instead, the shoddiness of the letter she'd written beautifully conveyed how heroic Kokoro was. With the utmost effort, trying her hardest, she wrote this. In order to give her earnest gesture the attention it deserved, I sat up, ramrod straight, and went on reading her message. Nice to meet you, Yukido-san. I wonder what I should write. There are so many things I wanted to write, I can't seem to bring it all together very well. You can probably tell just by looking, but my handwriting is like this too. This might be difficult to read, so please forgive me. First off, I'll report all the important things to you. I've read all the messages that you left me on this notepad. I was only able to listen to half of your message on the voice recorder left at the shelter cabin, but I was at least able to listen up to "It seems someone's after me." And about your left arm, the one who cut your left arm, that someone was the one who did it. That person tried to take away your life. In other words, that's how it is, right? But just who is that someone? Please explain in a little more detail. What's happening with Satoru's body? Why is it you believe someone is after you? Or then, did you say that on the shelter cabin's voice recorder too? I was only able to hear part of it, so I don't know. If by chance you didn't record it there, please reply here. But about the culprit, the truth is, it's not as if I don't have any ideas. There's no reason to beat around the bush, so I'll just go ahead and write it. Suzukage Hitori-chan. You're aware that she has DID, right? Recently she's been fixed in her Hitori personality though. However, I don't think it'd be unusual for her hidden personality to awaken at any time. And by her hidden personality, I mean the other personality within her. The personality that killed 12 people in Iwazumi Hospital. It may be possible, but that personality is targeting you, Satoru. I say that, but it's not as if I have any decisive evidence. It might not be appropriate to write things like this, even though I don't have any real evidence. Even so, I don't think it would be going overboard to just give a warning. Be careful, just in case. Next, about uni. It's extremely complicated, so I can't say it very well. What should I do? Oh, that's right. Okay, first, there's something I need to ask you. Have you ever met a young boy by the name of Kusuda Yuni? You know, right now I'm thinking this, that maybe Yuni is teleporting. Teleporting as in both his body and consciousness are transferring together. And the timing of his teleportation is the exact same as when Satoru and I transfer. Do you get what I'm trying to say? In other words, at the same time that I transfer back to Mount Akakura, Yuni's mind and body jump back to Mount Akakura as well. Because if that isn't so, I can't explain how Yuni could exist as two people at the same time. That's why, by my prediction, Satoru shouldn't have met Yuni even once. That's what I thought. Which is it really? Have you met Yuni or haven't you? Please tell me. And I have two more things I want you to tell me. The first is about SPHIA. Satoru should know much more about this facility, right? That's why I want you to tell me everything about SPHIA, like how to get outside and how to communicate with the outside world. The second is about the shelter cabin. In that time that I'm away from the cabin, please tell me if anything important happens. I'm sorry. Feels like all I'm writing is please tell me, and things like that, huh? As an apology, here's the report. First about the earthquake. An earthquake occurred at SPHIA. Because of that, the breaker was tripped and a blackout occurred. It's fixed now, though. And the times of the transfer, I checked properly, just like you told me, so here they are below. 1:07 PM, transferred to SPHIA. 1:40 PM, returned to the shelter cabin. 6:03 PM, transferred to SPHIA. 6:36 PM, returned to the shelter cabin. 7:33 PM, transferred to SPHIA. So that means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 transfers have occurred 5 times, 2.5 round trips. And at present, I'm still here. It looks like the times are all over the place, but do you think there's a pattern? Well then, one last thing. I'll do as much as I can while I'm in this world, so Satoru too. Please take care of my body. Things are pretty bad here, but it's a serious situation there too. It might be kind of weird to say this, but please try not to die. No matter what happens, I'll protect your body until the very end. So you too, Satoru, please protect my body. Live, survive. 2 of us together will escape from this weird phenomenon. And then I can't think of anything else. Anyway, I'm waiting for the day I can meet you. For sure, somewhere we'll... So then, this is where Kokoro will end her message. Kindly forgive the roughness of my writing. Later then. P.S. If you do anything weird to my body, I'll never forgive you. Don't touch it too much, okay? Rather, don't touch it at all. P.P.S. Come to think of it, I forgot to write something important. About the newspaper. You saw it too, right, Satoru? The newspaper that was in the shelter cabin? I guess you transferred mid-sentence. After the line, the newspaper that was in the shelter cabin, the rest of the page is blank. She hadn't drawn anything this time either. I was kind of hoping she would, so I actually felt a little disappointed. That aside, I should write her a reply before it's too late. I grabbed the pen and faced the white notepad. Kokoro, this is sort of sudden, but do you know where the highest mountain on the planet is? It's on the border of Nepal and Tibet. Elevation 8,850 meters. It goes without saying that I'm talking about Everest. Well then, on the other hand, where do you think the deepest point on the planet is? In this case, the deepest point on the planet means the lowest place that a flesh and blood human can reach. In other words, not in an ocean trench, but somewhere underground. Do you know where it is? The correct answer is in the Republic of South Africa. In a deep-level gold mine, there exists the deepest hole in the world. The depth is about 3,580 meters. But do you know what? I just found a place that's even deeper than that. Inside my heart. I'm so thankful to a girl named Fuyukawa Kokoro. This thankfulness is even deeper than that deep-level mine. And at the same time, I'm so moved it hurts. The feeling in my heart climbs higher than Everest. In other words, if the feelings in my heart were to be converted into units of distance, they'd surely reach far above 12,430 meters high. That's around how grateful I am to you right now. Of course, I'm talking about how you safely got away from the culprit who's after me. Thank you very much, Kokoro. Because I'm a scientific person by nature, I can't think of the right words to express myself, but far above 12,430 meters, my feelings can be transmitted through these numerical value. There's nothing more I desire. Well then, no matter how many words I string together, it won't be enough to tell you how thankful I am, but there's something else important that I have to tell you. I have no idea when we'll transfer again after all. I apologize, but I'll be changing the subject in my reply from here on. Question. By someone, who did I mean? I put it in the voice recorder too, but I don't know. My answer is that I don't know, except I don't think it's Yuni. I don't have any proof or anything, but I can't imagine Yuni being the one that's after me. And I think I can exclude Utsumi-san as a suspect based on my personal impression of her. That only leaves one person. In her case, I'm especially doubtful, since her speech and conduct aren't the least bit suspicious. The last one is Hattori. I'm hesitant to talk about her in black and white, just as you wrote, she was the culprit in the Mayuzumi incident, after all. Even if the Hattori personality is uninvolved, there's another more ferocious personality lurking within her. You could probably say that the probability is high. It wouldn't be going overboard to give a warning. Indeed, that's true. Question. Why do you think someone's after you? Now that you mention it, I haven't told you the details yet, huh? I was on the clock tower when I was first attacked. I was pushed off it by someone. Thankfully, my injuries weren't too bad, but if I'd landed the wrong way, I might have died. I don't know whether the culprit intended to kill me then, but at least they did it with the goal of hurting me in mind. After falling from the clock tower, I lost consciousness. When you woke up at SPHIA, it was probably a few hours afterward. The next time they came after me, I was in the bathroom. While I was in the bath, someone tried drowning me by plunging my head into the water. And after writing this, I realized something. That's right, that's it. Kokoro should know about that time. Kokoro had seen the killer. No, wait. Kokoro had asked in her message, what do you mean by somebody? As though she hadn't the slightest idea. In other words, she didn't see the culprit after all. That is, everything took place while she was asleep after taking the pill. Is that it? At any rate, I've got to ask her. I once again turned to the notepad. Hey Kokoro, do you know who the culprit is? Please tell me in detail when it was that happened then. I'm begging you. Sorry the conversation's changed direction a bit. Well, that's it for now. The clock tower, the bathroom, and my left arm being cut. Those three things happened in succession, meaning that someone is after me. More specifically, someone is after my life. Question about SPHIA. Is there any way to leave? Or are there any means to communicate with the outside? It's hard for me to say, but the answer to both questions is probably no. If my memory is correct, there shouldn't be any way to leave or communicate with the outside world. I can't say this for certain because right now I'm a little amnesic from the fall. I more or less remember SPHIA, but it might be that there's something I'm forgetting. I apologize for only being able to respond with such irresponsibly unhelpful answers. If I remember anything, I'll tell you right away. About the shelter cabin, did anything important happen? I don't think there have been any big changes. Yomogi and Yuni are just lazing around. Only Lin is emotionally unstable, but that's normal for her. There isn't really anything important I have to tell you at the moment. With that ends my replies to the questions you've asked me, Kokoro. I've answered everything that was within my scope of knowledge. After that, there's the timing of our transfers. Thanks, you saved me. Thanks to that, I know that the transfer times I recorded and yours are more or less the same. Tentatively, the transfer times that I've checked go something like this. 1:07 PM transferred to the shelter cabin, 1:40 PM returned to SPHIA, 6:03 PM transferred to the shelter cabin, -- PM return to SPHIA, 7:33 PM transferred to the shelter cabin, 8:06 PM return to SPHIA. Please don't mind the dashes in the fourth one. At that time I was in the dark running away from someone with a knife. I didn't have the opportunity to check the time. I don't know yet whether there's a rule about the timing of the transfers. The only thing I can say for sure is that you and I both transfer into each other's body at the same time. With that, please continue checking the time from here on out too. It's not like we have a big sample to work with after all. And lastly, about your body. Don't worry, I'll protect it no matter what. I take it upon myself, as always, to repay favours. And moreover, Kokoro and I have a connection that can't be severed even by if someone tries to cut it. I just noticed it now, but it seems that I, without you, am just me. Either way, the fact that I'm me doesn't change, but even so, when you're there, I feel like I can be more like myself. There's a 4-character Chinese aphorism that goes like that. Do you know it? Sekiju Kansei. Red accepts blue entirely. That's what it means. Maybe I've been trapped by that phenomenon myself. Of course, it's because you're here that this phenomenon came into existence in the first place, though. So that was a little much, huh? Anyway, I definitely won't let you die, no matter what. So try to relax somehow. Believe in me. I'll multiply my 12,430 meters worth of appreciation and pay it all back to you. Ah, that's right. There's one last thing I wanted to say. It might be rude to say something like this, but Kokoro's drawing was the work of a prodigy. Well then, later. Ah, coffee. Later. I finished writing the message and decided to go to the dining area for dinner. I was incredibly hungry. I'd realised that I hadn't eaten anything since this morning. In the end, I didn't even get that neither breakfast nor lunch that Utsumi made. Which reminds me, I wonder what happened. While I was away from SPHIA, did Kokoro eat it for me? At any rate, that didn't change the fact that I was hungry. Entering the dining area, I saw Hattori and Yuni sitting in their usual places, while the table was a pot of beef stew with pure white steam billowing from it. Additionally, there was salad, bread, glasses of water, and tableware and cutlery. Ah, perfect timing, Fuyukawa-san. I was just about to come and call you, Utsumi said the moment that she saw me. Though disappointed, I calmly corrected her. I'm Yukido Satoru now. Oh, I'm sorry. Utsumi replied curtly, urging me to sit. We do this every single time. I had seriously started to consider putting a name on a name tag or something whenever I left my room. With the four of us assembled at the table, dinner began. As their spoons travelled back and forth from mouth to plate, Utsumi, Hattori and Yuni used the interval between mouthfuls to chat. It was neither noisy nor quiet, a supremely ordinary mealtime. None of the topics of conversation stood out in particular. The main subject was the earthquake that had occurred at SPHIA. But since Kokoro had written about it in her message, I wasn't too surprised. I made the appropriate murmurs of agreement from time to time, along with the occasional forced smile, and thus was able to ignore their conversation pretty well. I had only one thing on my mind, the killer who'd slashed my left arm. It could very well be the case that the culprit is here among the three of them. I kept a close eye on the events going on around me as I ate, but nobody did anything suspicious, which means that the real culprit is someone else, lurking someplace unknown to us. I kept eating as I considered all these possibilities, so I don't actually remember how the meal tasted. Still, my hunger was out of control and I consumed the beef stew in a flash. By the way, from listening to their conversation, I did pick up one thing. It appears that Hattori was the one who treated my arm. I was a little surprised, so Hattori had a gentle side like that after all. Before returning to my room, I tentatively decided to express my gratitude to her. Before she murders us, thanks Hattori. And in reply she said, no need to thank me. Wasn't anything special. On returning to my room, I seated myself at the desk and reread the message from Kokoro one more time. There was only one part of it that troubled me. Because if that isn't so, I can't explain how Yuni could exist as two people at the same time. At the same time. Kokoro wrote at the same time. The meaning of that statement was plain to see. She probably still doesn't know it's 2012 in SPHIA. She's under the impression that SPHIA 2 exists in the year 2011 like the shelter cabin. I hesitated. Should I reveal the truth to her or not? After going back and forth, I finally decided I have no choice but to hide it from her. Because if I don't, she'll find out that I'm from the year 2012, and if she does, I'm sure there will be all kinds of questions. What happened on Mount Akakura on January 17th, 2011? When that question comes up, how should I answer it? Well, according to historical record, you're going to die in 5 days. I can't say such a thing to her, and that's why I decided to hide the problem from her. As well as the matter of the newspaper, Kokoro was just about to touch on the subject in her message, but I didn't comment on it. I didn't know how I should answer her. It's the same with the Uni case. She seemed to be questioning why two Unis can exist at the same time, but in order to explain it, no matter what, I have to reveal to her that at SPHIA, it's the year 2012. If possible, I wanted to keep her as an optimistic perspective on the situation. I didn't want her to know about the avalanche on the 17th. I can't saddle her with yet another burden. It's as if a matter of changing history. My own strength alone should be enough. That was what I decided. Casually, I glanced toward the window and the powdery snow dancing outside. The blizzard had stopped some time before. The incessant howling of the wind was gone, as though secretly snatched away. Having rested for a little while, I decided to leave the room. My goal, of course, was to search for the culprit. Is this what you call a proper investigation? It's not as if I wasn't scared of the killer, but what would wasting time in my room accomplish? I decided I needed to find out as much as I could. I opened the door and walked to the dining area. Before I could even think about whose room to start my search in, the figure of a lone girl entered my field of vision. Hattori. What are you doing over there? She was standing stock still near the table. An ashen shadow enveloped her. It felt as if I were viewing a faded old photograph. Hey, what's wrong? I slowly drew closer to her. She didn't answer. Her head hung low. She was staring fixedly at the floor. Beside her feet was a dark brown lump, dirtied all over, of the dead mouse. It was making weird twitching, squirming movements. What's this? I bent closer and took a good hard look at the thing on the floor. A rat. It's a rat. I could tell at a glance that it was on the verge of death. Its limbs were going into gruesome convulsions, its eyes so hollow they could have rotted away. Its mouth flapped open and shut in desperate attempt to breathe. But why here? I stood up and looked at her. Her face was dull and expressionless, hardly like a flesh and blood human. Her eyes held no warmth. Her skin was as parched and lifeless as a sculpture carved from hard sand. It seemed like if I were to so much as touch her, her whole body would crack, then crumble apart. At my feet, a rat on the verge of death, and beside it, the girl whose soul had vacated her body. Completely bewildered though I was, Anyway, we have to help it. Murmured that. Help? Hattori suddenly spoke. Yeah, that's right. It's gonna die if we just leave it like that. I had no idea what she was thinking, but just then, without warning, Hattori grabbed the rat by its tail. With all her strength, smashed it against the corner of the table. Ugh. My heart stopped. Though I tried to say something, anything, I couldn't even breathe. It died. She muttered those two words, dangling a dead rat like a pendulum from her hand. Then with no more care than you'd show to an old rag, she casually tossed the body away. Her face warped into an expression of boredom. What have you... Those words escaped my trembling throat, my voice hoarse. Hattori looked away from me, her lips forming a pout, an expression of complete unconcern. She was calm, as though nothing had happened. The rat now lay dead in the corner of the room, blood issuing from its mouth. It wasn't even convulsing anymore. The thing lying in that corner was no longer a living being. It had been reduced to a mere object, just a rat, but for some reason I felt very sad. The corpse of the rat lying miserably in the corner seemed so pitiful to me. Okay, we need to wrap this episode up here, but holy crap, she's scary. Like, she's been scary from the start, but goddamn, she's scary. Why does she have to be so scary all the time, huh? She's gonna murder us. I know it, for sure. Anyway, thanks for watching, Bruce, and I'll see you in the next one.